Practice 4 in the books for Nebraska on Monday. Hi, Sean Callahan for HuskerOnline.com. We talked to defensive coordinator Eric Chinander, a number of defensive assistants and players here. And I think the number one thing that really stands out is just how far along and just how veteran-like this defensive unit is, particularly at the linebacker position.
Actually been really fun for me. There's still some freshmen that have to get taught the basics, but a lot of the meetings, a lot of the installs, we're talking about real football. We're talking about situations. We're talking about technique. We're talking about detail instead of, okay, we're putting in the defense. Here's your job. Here's what you do. Let's go play football. When we get through that, we've got to really detail things, and we've got to talk about just overall global football knowledge, football formations, football plays, and I think that's really helped the guys, the older guys especially, move their game to the next level.
I think overall knowledge is way better. I think really as an overall unit, it's very experienced. Got a number of 6-year guys back, a lot of guys who have played a lot of football. So just overall understanding concepts, understanding what the offense is trying to do to them, how they're trying to attack our defense. The knowledge is as good as it's ever been.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's you kind of through the spring and working through the off season, you're kind of hitting the 100 level classes as far as information goes, and to be able to get this group to the next page, kind of going through the 400 level and maybe 700 level classes, if you were to equate it to going to school, I think it's been pretty fun. You can start teaching them a little bit more about offenses and how they work and blocking schemes, different protections and things like that. The whys behind each one of the offenses and defense. Why are we doing this? Why do we expect you here? Or why do we need you to accomplish this job? And then also on offense, why are they trying to do this to us? What are they trying to accomplish with this particular play or this particular protection? So being able to have some of those conversations is really fun. So you kind of keep the guys on their toes, and as they continue to learn more, it's like the more hungry they get for that type of information. So that part's been really fun.
And when Chinander talks about this defense as a whole, there's a lot of versatility he sees across the board.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity to be very multiple, if you will. That's the term media likes, I think, multiple. But an opportunity to play some 3-man fronts, some 4-man fronts, even some true 5-man fronts, and then get really creative in pass rush situations because some of those interior guys can rush the edge, and some of those outside guys can rush. They can speed rush an inside guard and those type of things. So I think it does give you a little bit of flexibility in there. But the biggest thing about that group is they all understand what we've tried to get done. They've all been through the rigmarole for a while, and they're doing a really good job of making plays that they're supposed to make right now.
The past 4 practices have also been the first time Chinander's had a look at Ohio State transfer Tyreke Johnson.
Yeah, Tyreke's done a nice job. Coming out of into a new program, learning a new scheme, you can definitely see in one-on-ones and those types of things the elite movement skills that he has that made him a 5-star recruit. Once he gets more comfortable with the guys and in the scheme, I think he's going to be a really, really valuable asset to our football team.
When inside linebackers coach Barrett Ruud looks at his group, I think the biggest key right now is developing and settling on the rotation.
Well, I don't know yet, Seth, but I do know it's going to be a rotation. I think that's the biggest thing. I think any more in this conference with as many snaps as you play on defense this day and age, and with the desire to play guys on special teams, we got to play more than 2 guys. I think that's a big deal. What that rotation is going to be yet, I can't say yet, but we're going to have rotation for sure.
One guy he's really hoping can move his way into that rotation a lot this year is Nick Heinrich.
Well, number one, Nick's got to stay healthy. I think that's the biggest thing for him. He's a really natural football player, really intelligent, loves the game, he's a great teammate. His number one deal is developing a routine that keeps him healthy, first and foremost. If he stays on the field, he's going to be a productive player for us.
Yeah, Nick, I thought through the spring, I thought Nick played as well as anybody on the football team. And so far, through 4 practices, he's continued on that path. He's got competition. That room is pretty tight. You got those 4 guys at the top right now. You got Nick, and you got Luke, and you got Garrett Snodgrass, and you got Chris Kolarvik. And then you got some freshmen, some young guys pushing them from behind. So that competition is really, really high. And I think that's really, really good to have that competition, because even if those guys separate themselves, they know they can't stop. But Nick's done a really good job so far.
For outside linebackers coach Mike Dawson, he has about as much as he's ever had to work with at NU.
Yeah, we have a pretty good group because we've just started off. There's some guys that have been here that have had some experience, so you get that tier. Then you have another tier of guys that have been here and maybe don't have quite as much experience, particularly in games, but have been working hard at it over the course of the summer and spring ball. And then you have a third tier of guys that have kind of just got here a little bit that we're working with. So there's a few different levels as far as that goes, but same thing. And Coach Beckton helps us with the returners and does a great job with those guys, and has a good plan. And he knows that we need to whittle this thing down and start focusing on the guys that are actually going to be playing on Saturdays for us.
A new responsibility, though, for Dawson has been special teams.
Yeah, Coach, I think, has mentioned it a bunch of times. Everybody knows, anyone that's a Cornhusker fan or has been paying attention knows that we need to improve in that phase, and that's not any type of surprise to us, so, or to me, I guess, heading into this role. So we're going to make a concerted effort on it. We start every single practice with a special teams period. Guys are fresh. They maintain the information. I heard a long time ago you usually retain, if you hear a bunch of different things or in a situation, you retain the first thing you heard and the last thing you heard easier than kind of the stuff in the middle. So having that first and kind of right out there with those guys has been really good, and I think that's kind of got a good demeanor. We have a good meeting room right now. Guys are on the edge of their chair, eyes up on it, and working really hard at being a good meeting room learner, and then bringing that over to the field. So that's been positive.
And when talking about special teams, a lot of questions still about the kickoff specialist role.
Yeah, we've had one kickoff practice. Those guys, just like every other position, right? They got to work their individual techniques day in and day out. So we've had a few of those kind of, days, and 4 days of those guys working it, and then one day with really a spotlight on them. So we have had some good kicks, and we're going to continue to keep working that and figure out the depth chart as we go.
Huskers will be off now on Tuesday. They'll be back on Wednesday for their 5th practice. It will be their first practice in full pads. With the Huskers in Lincoln, I'm Sean Callahan of HuskerOnline.com.